Hello, I'm Chef Ceri Jones and today I'm sharing this recipe in support of FareShare. Now many of us are lucky to be able to put food on our plates each day, and FareShare are working super hard to continue delivering food to frontline charities during this crisis so that the most vulnerable in society do not go hungry. A donation of just £10 can provide enough food for 40 meals. So please visit fareshare.org.uk today to donate. So the recipe we're going to make today is a fun Friday night flatbread pizza. We're going to make the flatbreads from scratch really quickly and then top the pizzas with whatever I can find in my fridge, and hopefully you can too. So the first thing I've done is I've preheated my oven to 200 degrees Celsius, that's fan, and I've put a baking tray in so that's going to be nice and hot for us to cook the pizza on. So now I'm going to make my dough. So for this I have got self-raising flour. I've given you some ideas in the recipe what to do if you don't have any self-raising flour. So I've got 150 grams, and to that I'm going to add half a teaspoon of baking powder just to help it rise a little bit. And then I'm going to add a pinch of salt. And then the wet ingredients that are going to go in is yogurt. So I've got some natural yogurt here. I've got 150 grams as well, so it's the equal weight to the flour. So I'm going to put my flour into a nice bowl here. So the great thing about this recipe is there's no yeast, so there's no rising time, so it can all be done very quickly. Mix that with a fork and then bring in my yogurt. So the yogurt makes the dough lovely and soft, and I'm going to stir that together with a fork to start with. And then when I feel like it's starting to come together, I'm going to abandon the fork and just go in with my hands, kind of like a digging action, and start to bring that together into a dough. So while the dough is resting, I've pulled out some ingredients from my fridge to top the flatbread with. First of all, I've got some pesto, sort of jar that's half used. Now this is quite firm, so what I'm going to do is just put it in a little ramekin, about 2 teaspoons worth, and then I'm going to top it up with some olive oil, just so it's a bit looser and easier to spread onto my flatbread, which I'll show you later, so just give that a good stir. Then I'm going to prep some of my vegetables. So I have got some beautiful cherry tomatoes here, and I really like these because this time of year tomatoes don't have a huge amount of flavour, so cherries are a bit sweeter. And I'm just going to chop those in half, and then into quarters, just so that I can scatter them on top. Onto one side, and then I've got some lovely asparagus. So to get rid of the tip, just give it a flick and pull it off and discard the end. Then with these, because they're quite chunky, what I want to do is cut them really thin, and that means they'll cook at the same time as the pizza. So once the toppings go in the oven, the pizza only takes about 8 to 10 minutes. So if your slices are too thick, they won't cook in that time. So just very gently do that with my knife. You can use a peeler, but I find it's a little bit tricky to chop them that way. So that's a nice thin bits of asparagus. And then the last thing I'm doing is I've got some courgette. You see I've already used a little bit of this already. And using the flat side of a ribbon peeler, just going to shave that off into some thin ribbons, and then again they'll cook in the exact same time that the pizza base does, which is perfect. So now my dough's rested a bit, I'm going to roll it out. So this should serve 2 people. Of course you could double the recipe if you wanted to serve 4. And I'm going to do one at a time. So I've got a nicely floured surface here, and actually the first thing I do is just push it down with my hands because it is quite delicate, and then grab a rolling pin that's been dusted as well and just bring it out into a nice kind of circular pizza shape. It doesn't have to look perfect. In fact, the more rustic these look, the better. So I've got my very hot tray from the oven here, and I'm just going to pop both these flatbreads straight on the tray, and they're going to go into the oven for 5 minutes. So these have had 5 minutes now, and hopefully the underside should be brown. Be very careful because it's hot. Yes, I've been lightly browned. I'm going to turn them over. First things first, I'm going to spread the pesto on the top. So then I'm going to add all my toppings, so all my veggies first. So some bits of courgette. Most important thing is not to overload them because then they can become a bit soggy, same as when you're making regular pizza. So bits of courgette, then we're going to have a few bits of asparagus, and then finally, before I add the cheese, a few scatterings of tomatoes. You could also do a tomato-based sauce, but I think I prefer the fresh tomatoes on top because that's how I like my pizza too. And then with the mozzarella, again, rather than slicing it, it's best just to tear it, and again, not to overload. So just a little bit. It will spread out when it cooks as well. and then that's going to go back in the oven for 10 minutes. So got our pizza. Gonna just pop it on the board here. I am gonna cover it with a few bits of fresh rocket, one of my faves, and then I'm gonna put a nice drizzle of balsamic glaze over the top and cut it up into chunks.